Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiret. Shrinivatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanto Histe Apadrani Vidunoti Shruti Shratam Nashta Prayeshu Apadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevayam Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikihi. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, verses 62 and 63. Text 62. Mamaiti manasa yad yad asav aham iti bruvan grinyat tat pumam radham karma ena punarbhavaha. Translation. The living entity labors under the bodily conception of I am this, I am that. My duty is this and therefore I shall do it. These are all mental impressions and all these activities are temporary. Nonetheless, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity gets a chance to execute all his mental concoctions. Thus he gets another body. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As long as one is absorbed in the bodily conception, his activities are performed on that platform. This is not very difficult to understand. In the world, we see that where every nation is trying to supersede every other nation, and that every man is trying to advance beyond his fellow man. All these activities are going on under the name of advancement of civilization. There are many plans for making the body comfortable, and these plans are carried in the subtle body after the destruction of the gross body. It is not a fact that after the gross body is destroyed, the living entity is finished. Although many great philosophers and teachers in this world are under the impression that after the body is finished, everything is finished, this is not a fact. Narad Muni says in this verse that at death one takes his plans with him, Grihinyat, and to execute these plans he gets another body. This is called Punarbhavaha. When the gross body is finished, the plans of the living entity are taken by the mind, and by the grace of the Lord, the living entity gets a chance to give these plans shape in the next life. This is known as the law of karma. As long as the mind is absorbed in the laws of karma, a certain type of body must be accepted in the next life. Karma is the aggregate of fruitive activities conducted to make this body comfortable or uncomfortable. We have actually seen that when one man was about to die, he requested his physician to give him a chance to live 4 more years so that he could finish his plans. This means that while dying, he was thinking of his plans. After his body was destroyed, he doubtlessly carried his plans with him by the means of subtle body composed of mind, intelligence, and ego. Thus he would get another chance by the grace of the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, who is always within the heart. Sarvasya chaham riddhi sannivishto mattah smriti jnanam apohanam cha. With the next birth, one acquires remembrance from the Super Soul and begins to execute the plans begun in the previous life. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita in another verse. Ishwarah sarva bhutanam hridayeshi arjuna tishtati brahmaya brahmayan sarva bhutani yantranotrani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of material energy, situated on the vehicle given by material nature, and reminded by the super soul within the heart. The living entity struggles all over the universe to fulfill his plans, thinking, I am Brahmana, I am Kshatriya, I am an American, I am an Indian, and so on. All these designations are of the same essence. There is no point in becoming a Brahmana in preference to an American or becoming an American in preference to a Negro. After all, These are all bodily conceptions under the modes of material nature. Text 63. यथानुमीयचित्तम् उभयैरिन्द्रियैः एवं प्राग्देहाहं कर्म लक्ष्यते चित्तवृत्तिभिः. Translations. One can understand the mental or conscious position of a living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life. Purport. There is an English proverb that says, the face is the index of the mind. If one is angry, his anger is immediately expressed in his face. Similarly, other mental states are reflected by the actions of the gross body. In other words, the activities of the gross body are reactions of the mental condition. The mind's activities are thinking, feeling, and willing. The willing portion of the mind is manifest by the activities of the body. The conclusion is that by the activities of the body and senses, we can understand the condition of the mind. The condition of the mind is affected by past activities in the past body. When the mind is joined with a particular sense, it immediately becomes manifest in a certain way. For instance, when there is anger in the mind, the tongue vibrates so many maledictions. Similarly, when the mind's anger is expressed through the hand, there is fighting. When it is expressed through the leg, there is kicking. There are so many ways in which the subtle activities of the mind are expressed through the various senses. The mind of a person in Krishna consciousness also acts in a similar way. The tongue chants Hare Krishna, the Mahamantra, the hands are raised in ecstasy, and the legs dance in Krishna consciousness. These symptoms are technically called Asat Satvika Vikara. Satvika Vikara is transformation of the mind, mental condition in goodness or sometimes transcendental ecstasy. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चातदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So I like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and thank you for giving me an opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So we are seeing about Sage Narad Muni's instructions going on to King Paranjana. From verse 60, we see that Narad Muni is explaining the science of gross and subtle body and soul connection. As of yesterday, we learned that the outer covering is gross form of the body, which tends to act based on the subtle body requirements. Death is just the removal of outer covering, but not the end of the subtle body. For example, we can think of like in our day-to-day life, like for example, if there is a torch, and the torch, the outer portion of the torch represents how it is designed, but actually it is functionable only through the help of the inner part, that is the batteries. So if there is something wrong with the batteries, the outer portion doesn't work. Similarly, here the gross body is controlled by the subtle activities. The impressions stored in the subtle body, which are usually acquired throughout the experiences of one's life, which will determine the future gross body of the living entity, and that is suitable to fulfill the unfulfilled desires and fruitive activities planned during the existing life. Now we know that intelligence is a subtle part of the body, which when the living entity acquires a new body, the remembrance is activated by the super soul through the intelligence the living entity acts. That is why we see that when a newborn baby, although it automatically starts sucking the milk from the mother's breast, No one has trained the newborn baby, nor the mother tells that it has to suck in a manner to get the milk. So this is a very kind of a live example to understand this concept. Prabhupada mentions that karma is the aggregate of fruitive activities conducted to make this body comfortable or uncomfortable. Knowing this, it is in our hands now to decide whether we desire comfort or uncomfortable and accordingly perform the activities for the future life. There is a phrase which is so true and fits well here, that man makes his own destiny, which means individuals shape their future through free will, choices, and actions rather than being controlled by external forces or or, uh, or fate, emphasizing personal responsibilities, perseverance, and the power to overcome challenges to build a desired life. So it suggests that while some factors are beyond control, our responses and efforts define our ultimate path and success, promoting an internal locus of control and proactive self creation. This is the reason why it is emphasized that one should cultivate or mold our life in such a manner that when we are ready to leave the subtle body is left with the impression of Krishna consciousness so that the living entity takes no other gross body and reaches the abode of Goloka. The devotional journey is designed in a manner that there is no room left for any other thought other than serving Krishna. In this way, the mind and the subtle body are completely engaged in Krishna consciousness. Our actions, our thoughts, and feelings are all devoted to Krishna in devotional service. This is the reason why Shastra declares bhakti is the topmost means of reaching the abode of Sri Krishna. Understanding the connection of gross and subtle, 63 verse explains how the gross body manifests based on the subtle body state. While Prabhupada explains about the anger expressions, when there is an anger in the mind, how the body shows the reactions at different parts of the body. So, this explains how closely the body, mind, and the soul are functioning. In fact, the soul cannot experience the material world without a body. Now, we being the Tatastha Shakti, that is marginal Shakti, we have a choice as well as free will of walking either towards the consciousness or towards the material world. With this understanding of knowledge, one has to discern to take Krishna consciousness and live life with this knowledge which keep us on trail. Keeping in mind that death is very uncertain and we do not know when it arrives to us. So we shouldn't be taking any opportunity of wasting a moment of time, and we should start engaging in Krishna consciousness as much as possible, and the instructions given by our spiritual masters. So I stop here for today's reading. Please forgive me for any other shortcomings. Hare Krishna.